Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. Did you believe me that I wasn't going to do any more videos today? Gotcha. So yes, I'm going to review Star Wars A New Hope. Why? Well, I was always going to review all the Star Wars films, but I've just been kind of halfway through this YouTuber called Mauler. I'm sure you've heard of him. This guy is amazing, and he's basically reviewing Star Wars The Force Awakens, but he does this introduction. I can't even describe it to you. It's amazing. The guy is amazing. He makes me feel like a rank amateur. He makes me feel like I didn't go to RADA. He makes me feel that I've never written and directed and acted in things before. He makes me feel like there's so much more to learn. And I could learn from this guy. I think he's brilliant. So go and follow Mauler on YouTube. Never spoken to him, never met him, not my mate or anything. But I think he is so refreshing. Now, I want to read you a tweet I posted earlier today. Yeah, I should really remember what I say, but I don't. All those drugs and drink really don't help. So many brain cells have rotted. Right. We have seen evidence in 2018 that our beautiful entertainment industry has been infested by people with no interest in entertainment or creativity, but furthering political agenda. These people must be rooted out of this industry. And I believe that wholeheartedly. This is what the entertainment industry has become. Now, why am I reading this out when I'm going to do a Star Wars review, A New Hope, for me, the best Star Wars film ever made? Because it's important to understand the differing logics and mentalities and motivations when doing a Star Wars film. When George Lucas made Star Wars, it was about the creativity. It was about the entertainment aspect. He never thought he was going to change the face of cinema. He probably wanted to do that, but he never thought it was going to happen. But he did. He did, because he was focused on his script and his film and what he wanted to do. Now, there's this kind of divisive kind of thing going on between Star Wars fans, and this is why it's so toxic. I try not to get involved with it, but it's hard to ignore it. When we criticise The Last Jedi or Disney Star Wars, we're slapped back down and told, well, Star Wars has always been political. Star Wars A New Hope had a political narrative. There's no question of that. The narrative of that film is about corruption within power and within the power structure. The Star Wars concept is about that. But when we talk about political ideology in Star Wars Disney, we're talking about something really, really different. They're pushing gender equality, representation. That's very, very different to what George Lucas was trying to do. And I think it's important to understand that. I first saw Star Wars A New Hope on a British UK channel called ITV. I think I remember Star Wars and Superman the movie being premiering around 2 Sundays in a row or something along those lines. I was very, very young. How old was I when I first saw Star Wars A New Hope? Whew. I could have been 10, 11, 12. I can't exactly remember. And I remember, just like Superman the movie, how many times they were plugging that this film was going to be on. And I was just so excited by the reels and by the rushes I was seeing that ITV were putting out. So I never saw it in the cinema, far too young. And our parents didn't take us to the cinema. It's just the way it was. If we ever went to the cinema, it was by older cousins or other relatives or friends of family. And my parents weren't into going to the cinema, unfortunately. So I remember when The Crawl first comes up and John Williams' magnificent score, magnificent Star Wars theme. The man is a sonnet with musical instruments. He's a genius. And that I tell you what, 50% of the success and what makes Star Wars A New Hope so fantastic is the score by Williams. And this is why I've always said that Murray Gold, who was scoring Doctor Who for about, 10 seasons, reminded me of John Williams. The music of Doctor Who under Murray Gold was very similar and very important to what certainly what Russell T Davies was doing. So if we go back to Star Wars, Star Wars A New Hope, I don't think there's dead air in this film at all. I think there's pretty much music all the way through it, or 3/4 of the film, even 98, 99% of the film. And it works. It creates an atmosphere and an aura within the film. And it's so important to what George was trying to do with this film. What I love about this film is the simplicity. It is not complicated. You do not have to be a rocket scientist to watch Star Wars. Star Wars: A New Hope is for everyone. The genius of this film is you can treat it as a standalone movie or a building block for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But it's just a simple adventure. You've got an old wizard, aka Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've got Luke Skywalker, a farm boy, bored and fed up of his life. And he just wishes he could. He's heard all these stories about his father, or he kind of knows stuff, right? And to him, his father was a hero, a legend, and he was killed in action. So to him, he wants to be like his father. He wants to go up into the cosmos and, fight the Empire. But he's got a responsibility to his uncle and aunt, and he takes that responsibility very serious. He's a very nice lad. He wouldn't just desert them. And I think one of the reasons that Lucas kills off the uncle and aunt is to give Luke a reason to go off with Obi-Wan. Because when Obi-Wan first makes the offer, Luke says no. So I suppose what I love about Alec Guinness's performance is how frustrated he seems with Luke, but he respects his decision. But yes, when you look at Star Wars: A New Hope, it doesn't have a lot of major characters in it. You've got Luke, Han, Leia. They're your main characters, right? Obviously, you've got the droids. Now, I think we want to talk about the droids. One of the greatest concepts of Star Wars is R2-D2 and 3PO. And I don't understand for the life of me either why they're not used by Disney Star Wars that much, or they just didn't create as interesting droids for these films. But anyway, because I don't like the droids basically in Disney Star Wars. I think they're terrible. But anyway, we're talking about A New Hope. Let's not spoil the atmosphere, by talking about Disney Star Wars. So basically, the uncle and aunt die. So Obi-Wan is asked by Luke, how did his father die? So Obi-Wan lies, but at this time, we don't know Obi-Wan is lying. He had a young student called Darth Vader, and then he betrayed Anakin, and he betrayed the Jedi and all that. So what he's basically what I love about this lie is it's truth wrapped within a lie. It's brilliant. It's brilliant because it's like he's been thinking about this lie, Obi-Wan. So ever since he's been in the cave on his own, watching over Luke, he's been thinking, what am I going to tell this kid? So I think we do that in life, don't we? Think, how are we going to explain this? When you're trying to think of a way to get out of a tight situation. We've all lied before. Please don't tell me you never lied, because that is a lie within itself. So he tells him this lie, but it's true, but it's not true. So I love that. So we go on and then we see the cantina. I love the cantina with all the aliens. Now, as a kid, you don't see it as kind of just a few puppets. We've never seen a CGI movie before. So Star Wars: A New Hope isn't a CGI movie. It's basically practical effects. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that they had to do at the optical houses. George Lucas broke ground in effects because George Lucas started off as an editor. So this is why this film is so well edited and put together. And it really works so well. You can tell this is a guy who has a gift for editing. I think George Lucas is a better editor than he is a director. And there's a lot of this thing about George not being a good director, but ultimately he created Star Wars. Without George Lucas, there was no Star Wars. Now, George was inspired by these chapterized kind of serials in the 40s, I think, or was it the 30s, 40s or 50s, whatever it was. I used to watch those as a kid, the Flash Gordons and the other ones, and they always had this cliffhanger at the end. I loved them. But originally, they used to actually air these things in the cinema before movies. Amazing, right? A lot of these concepts they had in the olden days were better than what we've got now. Wouldn't it be quite cool if you went to the cinema and you saw these chapterized like 5-minute adventures every time you went to the cinema. Wouldn't that actually take people back to the cinemas? Because so many people are leaving the cinema. But anyway, again, I'm going off base. So I can't even remember where I am. So yeah, the cantina. Love the cantina. But the moment as a kid I'll never forget is when that creature, with the weird face, and basically, he doesn't like you. I don't like you either. You best watch yourself. Then Obi-Wan comes over and says, this little one's not worth the effort. And then basically he goes to attack Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan just, in one fell swoop, he basically cuts him. Now, and there's blood on the floor. And for me being, 10, 12, whatever I was, that was actually harrowing. But I liked it. I liked the fact that he didn't just do that and you didn't see any blood. And I want to ask you a question, because my memory's shit, right? I love Star Wars, but I'm not someone who watches Star Wars every day throughout the week. So has there been another sequence where we've seen blood drawn in Star Wars in that mold? Because Star Wars, since A New Hope, hasn't been very bloody, has it? But I actually appreciated that from George Lucas. But I don't think he ever did it again. Again, please correct me down in the comments. So we continue in the cantina. We meet Han Solo, this suave, attractive, arrogant guy who basically brags about his Millennium Falcon, his ship. We meet Chewbacca. Chewbacca looks like a gorilla, an overgrown gorilla. But what I love about what George does with this character, he's oozing personality. Don't forget, you don't understand what Chewie's saying. But what's clever about this whole idea of Chewie is everything he says, basically, Han translates it. You don't really notice this aspect, but literally, Chewie is talking through Han. Now, for all we know, Han is misunderstanding what Chewie's saying. We have to trust Han that he actually knows what the hell Chewie's doing. But we know that Chewie and Han have known each other for a very, very long time. So again, I love Chewbacca, and that's without him being able to utter a word of English. Again, this is part of the genius of George Lucas. Now, I want to answer something. For years now, Star Wars fans have said, oh, well, it wasn't really George Lucas, it was his former wife. She did a lot of the editing. She fixed a lot of the mistakes he made. Look, forget it. I'm sure she helped out. A lot of people helped out to finish that movie. But at the end of the day, Star Wars is George Lucas's vision, right? He wrote and directed that movie. Without George, there is no Star Wars. So please, back in your boxes, show the man some respect. I don't care if you don't like the prequels. We will go into the prequels on another video because I think I want to have an expanded chat about the prequels. Now, I don't know how much Star Wars chat I've done on my channel before, but whatever I've done, we're going to do proper reviews. So basically, they agree a fee with Han Solo, some money now and some money when they go to Alderaan, which is the planet they need to go to. Now, I can't remember by now if Alderaan's already been destroyed by the Empire. So they go on the ship, and then there's this big laser fight between stormtroopers and Han. Han's pretty handy with a laser gun. So they run on, and you get this glorious scene of the Falcon just turning and going. It's an amazing... Look, I don't know how Lucas pulled it off. I don't know the techniques that he used. But even now, if you look at it, and I'm talking about looking at the original reels of how they did it, right? Without, the special editions and all of that. It looks amazing. It is so believable. More believable than any CGI you'll ever get. So they're being chased. And I think I love it. I love it. It's just so exciting. And again, John Williams' music, brilliant. So, of course, we get to know Han a little bit and what kind of person he is. And we get to realise that he is just so cynical when the conversation of the Jedi comes up. He's talking about it being an old religion. He's talking about the Force being just hearsay. And, he doesn't believe in the Force. Even, Luke even says to him, you don't believe in the Force. And so they have this big kind of little heated debate, which I absolutely love. Obi-Wan and Han Solo don't particularly like each other. I think Han Solo doesn't like Obi-Wan Kenobi and just sees him as a stupid old man, basically. So then they get sucked in to the space station, right? To look. That's no moon. That's a space station. Dun, dun, dun. See, I'll tell you something about A New Hope. It's the Star Wars film I've watched the most. Because after A New Hope, I never watched Empire Strikes Back for years. I came back. I used to go to the office with my dad on a Saturday as a kid and stamp the brochures. He was a travel agent. And I'd found out, I'd gone and my brother had seen the double feature of Star Wars A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back with his mate. And I was so frustrated. I think it must have been 7 years later until I was able to see The Empire Strikes Back. I think I went to the cinema to see Return of the Jedi before I actually got to see Empire Strikes Back. How crazy is that? So New Hope is the Star Wars film I know the best. And it is absolutely my favourite Star Wars film. So obviously they get sucked in to the space station and Vader starts to sense Obi-Wan. Now, I haven't really said much about Darth Vader. We need to talk about Darth Vader. How can I miss out Darth Vader? Wow. This character is genius. It's a 6-foot guy in a black mask and a black suit. But what is this guy's distinctive character trait? The breathing. The breathing. The guy who does the sound effects for Star Wars, who did them, is a genius. And that kind of gas mask, that, just amazing. The sound effect is so chilling. And you're scared of this guy already. But James Earl Jones doing the voice of this character is absolutely genius. You do not know who Darth Vader is. You do not know who he is behind the mask. You do not know the story within A New Hope of what happened to him or that he's Anakin Skywalker. None of that is revealed. You have no idea about who he actually is. This is absolute genius. Genius. But why does this guy still work as a villain, even though we know jack about him? Don't forget, he's not a moustache-twirling villain. That's very, very important. He's a powerful guy. You can tell when he strangles the guy in the space station kind of meeting. He's dangerous. If he can strangle someone without touching them, you know the threat level that this guy's got. So you know that he used to know Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know that Obi-Wan used to be his master. But he's a very intriguing character, Darth Vader. He works as a villain straight off the bat because Lucas makes sure that we know straight off that he's a threat. He's powerful, but he's not in charge of everything. It's interesting. We never hear the word emperor in A New Hope. If I recall rightly, again, down below, correct me if I'm wrong. We hear the name Empire, but not the emperor. So or am I wrong? Am I wrong? Is the emperor used in it? I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. But you don't hear much about the emperor, so you don't really know about him. But you've got Governor Tarkin. Oh, I love Tarkin. Tarkin is such a good villain. God, what's the guy's name? I forgot. But, you're talking about Hammer House of Horror actor. This guy, theatrically trained, brilliant. To get these famous, theatrical and TV actors on this film was amazing by Lucas. I don't know how he pulled it off, but he did it, and he was brilliant. So Tarkin is kind of very softly spoken. He never shouts, "Fire and ready." But so he's very confident of the power of the space station and what they're doing with Vader. He doesn't think there's going to be failure at any time. And he has no faith that the Jedi are a threat anymore because he thinks they're all extinct. So we've got that. And the interactions between Tarkin and Vader are absolutely brilliant. But you do feel that the person who's in charge here is Governor Tarkin and not Darth Vader. Darth Vader is the pit bull on the leash, if you like. And Tarkin's the bad boy. Tarkin's the one who can go, "Right, Vader, do it." So I love all that, and I love the dynamic between those characters. So So basically, Han and Luke are in this room, in this control room, and Obi-Wan decides to go and try and pull the tractor beam down, and they find out about Leia, and Luke wants to save her because he saw her in R2's thing. Another thing about like the video R2's got, I think that's brilliant. Again, Lucas at his best, because this robot has got this secret message. Don't forget, Obi-Wan doesn't remember the droids, which I think is one of the biggest plot holes in film history. But anyway, I don't remember owning a droid. But he's an old man. He's been around for many years, so easy for him to forget. So we could cover up that plot hole like that, if it even is a plot hole. So basically, Luke realises that she's on the space station. He wants to rescue her. And Han doesn't give a toss. But then Luke goes, one of my favourite lines, she's rich. Rich? How rich? More wealth than you can imagine. Well, I can imagine quite a bit. So I love that kind of exchange in dialogue. And you could just see that at this point, Han just wants the money. Give me the money. Give me the money. Show me the money, right? So he is persuaded for them to rescue Leia. So when we meet Leia, it's brilliant when she first sees Luke. Big shot for a stormtrooper. Oh, the uniform. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. You who? I'm here with Ben Kenobi. Ben Kenobi, where? So she knows who Ben Kenobi is, and so they go off together. So they're in this alleyway, right? And I love this bit. And, Han's giving it the laser action, and him and Leia are not getting on very well, and she's giving it the lip. So in the end, she just takes the laser gun and she starts shooting herself. So they all dive into the trash compactor. One of the best moments in any movie. So they're in the trash compactor. And it's just brilliant because it's very kind of quiet and solemn down there and wet. And then the walls start moving in. And what I love about what Lucas captures in this is the terror of the situation. Because to those characters, there's no way they can stop those walls. So you got Luke talking to 3PO, but he's not answering. Where can he be? But 3PO and R2 have got their own problems trying to get away from the control room. Eventually, he gets the message, and you've got R2 with the old finger action in the hole. Very good. A hole in the wall before we thought of the hole in the wall. So brilliant. So he tries to stop it. Just in time, he stops the walls from closing in. And then when they're all dressed up on top and you've got the hole, and then you've got Leia, can someone get this big walking carpet out of my way? Charming, talking about Chewie in those terms. So one of the amazing things about this film and what Lucas locks down is banter between the characters. From the moment Luke, Leia and Han are together, it's all banter, 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 and it works. And you never really used to have banter like that at that time in films. In fact, you don't really have great banter like that in films today. The MCU kind of do it now and again. It works. I think the only reason it ever works is when Robert Downey Jr. is involved in an Avengers movie, right? Otherwise, it doesn't work as well. But the banter between these three characters is absolutely fantastic. And then you get one of my favourite moments in Star Wars history. So Obi-Wan is trying to close down this tractor beam, but then he comes face to face with his old student, Darth Vader. Now, sitting here now, we know that once upon a time, Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker. He was, he was trained by Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan ultimately failed, and he became Darth Vader. So just imagine it, thinking about Revenge of the Sith and what that moment means. And that moment is as powerful whether you know about Revenge of the Sith or you do not know about Revenge of the Sith. So they're having this fight, and it does feel like an emotional fight. Even when I first saw this film as a kid, and I had no knowledge of who Darth Vader was. So there's a little bit of dialogue. I can't remember exactly the dialogue. I remember in the kind of rushes for the movie that ITV were putting out, and you had one of these great lines. You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I'll be more powerful than you can possibly imagine. already that captures my young 10, 12-year-old mind, however old I was. But if he dies, he's dead, right? No, because I know nothing about the Force, really. I don't understand how it works at this point. So basically, he's saying to Darth Vader, you are screwed, mate. You can never beat me. You can never defeat me. But Darth thinks he can defeat him. He knocks him down. The only reason Darth Vader beats Obi-Wan Kenobi is because Obi-Wan Kenobi sees Luke Skywalker. That's a very emotional, powerful moment in the film. So Luke runs over, Ben? And then Alec Guinness does this amazing. He looks at Luke, he looks at Vader, because he knows they're father and son, and he smirks. He closes his lightsaber. Honestly, it's so emotional, I'm surprised I'm not crying. He goes like that, and he commits suicide. He allows Vader to kill him, because he knows this is what needs to happen. And of course, Luke is devastated, but, you know, Han and Leia say, come on, it's too late, Luke. And the music that Williams plays out is not only action-packed, but he manages to get emotion and action-packed music out at the same time. So that's a brilliant moment. Probably my favourite moment of the whole film. So they're on the Falcon, and then they have the big kind of battle, don't they? And Luke has to help Han, you know, get rid of these TIE fighters that are shooting at the Falcon. So Luke seems to know instantaneously which way to go. He goes up the ladder or down the ladder. He seems to know already. And he seems to kind of know how to use the shooting material. But, you know, these are little nitpicks. So what? It's awesome. So we let it go, because this is part of the problems with people today. We're so over-analytical and obsessed with tearing things to shreds. It's now become a habit. So we're back where the rebels are. They show a kind of a live kind of map of the space station, and they tell us about the flaw in the space station. At the time, you think, how can it have a flaw? But it does. And I think every design has a flaw in life. So it wasn't really the biggest plot hole. I don't think we needed Rogue One to explain it to us, but we'll get to Rogue One at another time, eventually in the future. So what Lucas does with the whole battle in the tunnel with all those ships, right? And, you know, them having to destroy the space station, right? The Death Star, right? That's what it's called, the Death Star, right? He gives you an end battle. So you haven't got an end battle between good guy and bad guy. You've got the whole of the rebels trying to be the ones that destroy the Death Star, right? I love it, the Death Star. I mean, what a great name. Lucas had some great names for characters and things in his Star Wars universe. Such a clever man, I'm telling you, but he really did study storytelling. Very interesting, and a conversation for another time. So ultimately, Luke becomes the hero. Obi-Wan's voice is in his ears, and he says, "Let go, Luke." So he does, and he switches off his scanner. So he's now literally using the Force, or should we call it faith, right? So what's going on, Luke? You switched off your targeting computer. Is anything wrong? I'm all right. So we get that other fat guy trying to shoot it down. Or is it not that fat guy, that other guy? And I think in the end he gets shot down. So he fails. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get a hole in one, right? So in the end, Luke does it. He gets it in, and he destroys the Death Star. And then you get this glorious scene in the end of them collecting the awards. So there's no cliffhanger. There's nothing. Everything, in all intents and purposes, is wrapped up within this film. You never had to see another Star Wars film again. You could just sit there rewatching A New Hope. But of course, it's Hollywood. Money means money. And they came back with a sequel. One of the best sequels in Hollywood history. And we'll talk about that another time. But in closing, Star Wars A New Hope is the greatest adventure you ever watch. If you want escapism, this is the film to watch. It doesn't ask too much of you. It doesn't ask you many questions. It just gets you to sit there and enjoy. And really, that's what you want from a blockbuster.